Porsche's finish to the 1983 Le Mans 24 Hours was dramatic, and had the race been one lap longer, some real motorsport history could have been made. This is a short view back to the past on when Porsche won Le Mans with a very broken car.
Gentlemen, a short view back to the past.
The Le Mans 24 Hours is one of the greatest motorsport events in the world, and the Group C era is remembered fondly as one of the golden eras of sports car racing. Porsche's 956 is almost certainly the most important car for that period, and went into the 1983 Le Mans 24 Hours as the hot favourite, filling most of the top entries. The factory Porsche squad was, of course, the leading contender, having finished first, second and third on the 956's Le Mans debut the year before. Two of the cars hit trouble, but the third entry, Vern Schuppan, Hurley Haywood and Al Holbert, were in the mix from the very start and remained at the front throughout the race. To be honest, it looked like one of those clean, tidy performances that often pays dividends at Le Mans. That was until just over an hour from the end of the 24-hour race. The left-hand door flew off while Schuppan was at the wheel. This was particularly crucial on the 956 because the cooling ducts were next to the doors, and the door coming up affected the airflow into the left-hand side of the engine. Schuppan noticed the engine temperatures increasing and went into the pits for repairs. The engine was so hot they had trouble firing up again in the pits, but when it did get going, Holbert did manage to get air through on the Mulsanne straight and the temperature started to come down. Unfortunately, the door fix didn't last long and it flew up again. Somehow, Holbert managed to keep the car door partially closed and backed off his pace to keep the temperatures under control. Imagine that in a car that can do around 220 miles an hour. Holbert came into the pits with 35 minutes to go for his final stop and got some bad news. It was at this point that the team told him that if he didn't up his pace, he would be caught by the charging sister car of Jackie Ickx and Derek Bell. Now, this car had been recovering from the very start of the race after it had been hit on the second lap and had lost 3 laps straight away. They charged back into contention, only for the car to come out again with an electrical problem, which Derek Bell managed to fix, but again, more laps were lost. So they'd spent the whole race trying to get back on terms with their teammates. The problems for the lead car should have given Bell and Ickx a good opportunity, but they were also struggling with yet another problem. When Ickx came in for his last stop to hand over to Bell, he pointed out that the front brake discs were cracked. Bell was given the option of having them changed, which would almost certainly lose the race, or press on regardless and see what happens. As most racing drivers do, they decided to press on regardless. By hurling the car sideways under braking into the corners, Bell was able to maintain a very good speed despite the brake problem. In fact, some of his laps were almost on lap record pace, so it's perhaps no surprise that Bell later picked this as the race of his life. Bell actually got back onto the lead lap while Holbert was sat in the pits getting the bad news that he had to go faster. Holbert did go faster when he got back on track and almost immediately saw the engine temperature starting to climb again. On what he hoped would be the final lap, Holbert noticed that his gauges had flipped to 0. There was nothing left for the sensors to pick up, and he smelled the water disappear from the engine. As he came round to the start-finish straight, 2 things happened. The first thing was that Holbert noticed that there was still 2 minutes left on the clock. He would have to do another lap. The second thing was that the engine started to seize completely. Holbert banged it into first gear and floored the throttle, and somehow it freed itself with a puff of smoke as he came past the pits. Holbert had great mechanical sympathy and somehow managed to nurse the car around that final lap to victory. Just over a minute later, Bell arrived, still with his brake disc cracked, and ran out of fuel. The result was a resounding success for Porsche, and there were 9 956s in the top 10, a truly remarkable result. But what if the race had been just 1 lap longer? Remember, the winning car has no engine left, and the second place car has petered out of fuel on its slowdown lap. So who would have been the winner? It would have been the 956 driven by Philip Alliot, Michael Andretti and Mario Andretti, and this is where the motorsport history comes in. Had Andretti won Le Mans, he would become the second driver after Graham Hill to have won the Formula 1 World Championship, the Indy 500 and of course Le Mans, but he never quite made it. Second was the best result that Andretti ever managed. As it was, Holbert's miracle and Bell's charge made the 1983 Le Mans 24 Hours one of the most remarkable moments in the history of the Porsche 956. If you like this video, please remember to click the like button and subscribe, and do let us know in the comments if there are any races you'd like us to look at in a short view back to the past. Don't forget to take a look at Motorsport TV for some other great motorsport videos.